in the burning midday sun of Mexico City, one mistake, one moment of brilliance could decide football history forever. And standing in the middle of it all was a 29-year-old man who had already conquered the world, but still had one last statement to make. On June 21st, 1970, Brazil and Italy walked into the Estadio Azteca not just to win a World Cup, but to decide who would own football's greatest prize for eternity. This wasn't just a final, it was a tiebreaker between two giants, two football cultures, two completely different ways of seeing the game. And what followed became the most famous World Cup final ever played. By the time the final arrived, the 1970 World Cup already felt historic. It was the first World Cup broadcast worldwide in color. Millions were seeing football more vividly than ever before, and Brazil made sure the world would never forget what it saw. Brazil arrived in Mexico carrying scars. 4 years earlier, in 1966, they had been eliminated early, and Pelé had been fouled relentlessly. He left that tournament injured, frustrated, and emotionally drained. For the first time, he openly questioned whether football was still worth it. Mexico was about redemption. Under coach Mario Zagallo, Brazil built a team that combined discipline with freedom. They trained intensely at altitude, prepared physically like never before, and assembled a squad overflowing with talent. Pelé, Jairzinho, Rivellino, Tostão, Gerson, Carlos Alberto. Too much creativity for one team, yet somehow it worked. Brazil didn't just win matches in 1970, they overwhelmed opponents. They scored 15 goals in 5 matches before the final. Jairzinho scored in every single game. Pelé controlled matches even when he wasn't scoring. The football was fast, confident, joyful. Defenders chased shadows. Italy's journey could not have been more different. They were European champions, masters of structure and patience. Their strength was tactical discipline, defensive organization, and timing. In the semi-final, Italy survived one of the most exhausting matches in football history, beating West Germany 4-3 after extra time in what became known as the game of the century. Physically and emotionally, it took everything out of them. But Italy believed. They believed Brazil could be slowed, that flair could be contained, that discipline could win. Before the final, defender Tarcisio Bergnic later admitted he tried to calm himself by thinking Pelé was just another man, skin and bones like anyone else. He would later admit how wrong he was. The final kicked off at noon. The heat was brutal. Over 107,000 fans filled the Estadio Azteca. The pressure was immense. Both teams knew exactly what was at stake: a third World Cup title and permanent ownership of the Jules Rimet Trophy. Brazil started confidently, moving the ball patiently, drawing Italy out. Italy stayed compact, disciplined, waiting for mistakes. Then, in the 18th minute, history spoke. Rivellino sent a high cross into the penalty area. Pelé timed his run perfectly. He rose above the Italian defense and seemed to hang in the air. Giacinto Facchetti, taller and jumping with him, later said that when he landed and looked up, Pelé was still airborne. Pelé's header flew into the net. Brazil led 1-0. Pelé raised his fist. The image became immortal. He had already scored twice in a World Cup final at just 17 years old in 1958. But now, in 1970, he scored as the leader of the most complete team football had ever seen. But World Cup finals are never that simple. Italy stayed calm. They waited. And in the 37th minute, Brazil made a rare mistake. A defensive miscue. A loose ball. Roberto Boninsegna reacted instantly, dribbled past the goalkeeper and rolled the ball into the empty net. 1-1. The stadium fell silent. Brazil had dominated, but the match was level again. Old doubts briefly returned. Italy had survived and struck back. At halftime, everything was still open. Brazil didn't panic. They believed Italy was tired. The heat, the altitude, the brutal semi-final, it was all catching up. The message was simple. Keep playing, keep moving, trust the system. The second half began with Brazil increasing the tempo. Passes were sharper, movement was constant. Italy retreated deeper. Pelé narrowly missed connecting at the far post. Then Rivellino smashed a free kick that crashed against the crossbar. The breakthrough was coming. In the 66th minute, it arrived. The ball fell to Gerson outside the box. One touch, a powerful left-footed strike. The shot flew past the Italian goalkeeper and into the net. 2-1, Brazil. The tension broke instantly. 5 minutes later, Gerson launched a long ball forward. Pelé rose again and headed it perfectly into the path of Jairzinho. Jairzinho powered through and forced the ball over the line, 3-1. Jairzinho had now scored in every match of the tournament, a unique World Cup achievement that still stands. Italy were exhausted. Their resistance was gone. Brazil played freely now, confidently, joyfully, but they weren't done. With 4 minutes left, football reached its purest form. The move started deep in Brazil's own half. Clodoaldo dribbled past multiple Italian players instead of clearing the ball. He passed to Rivellino, who switched play wide to Jairzinho. Jairzinho cut inside and laid the ball to Pelé at the edge of the box. Pelé stopped, he waited, then without looking he rolled the ball into space on the right. Carlos Alberto was already there. The Brazilian captain struck the ball first time. Perfect power, perfect placement. 4-1. 7 players involved. Total understanding. Pure intelligence. It is still considered by many the greatest goal ever scored in a World Cup final. Moments later, the final whistle blew. Brazil were world champions for the 3rd time. Pelé collapsed to the ground, overwhelmed. Fans invaded the pitch. Teammates lifted him onto their shoulders. He removed his shirt early to protect it. This was his final World Cup match, and he had won it. Brazil earned permanent ownership of the Jules Rimet Trophy. Zagallo became the first man to win the World Cup as both a player and a coach. Carlos Alberto lifted the trophy as captain. Brazil 1970 became the standard by which all great teams are measured, not just because they won, but because of how they played. That final didn't just decide a champion. It defined what the beautiful game could be. If you want to see how another legendary match changed sports history forever, click the next video on the screen.